if you heard his story and something about it felt familiar. Not the politics, not the party lines, but the shackles, the transport, the bodies treated like cargo. See, history doesn't disappear. It evolves. And when we say this isn't who we are, then we have to ask, why does it echo so loudly? Hello, everyone. It's your girl, Breezy, with my homegirl,
There's the Diva.
and we are back for episode 5. First of all, before we dive into that, though, congratulations to Des on a couple of things, okay? First, today marks 3 years of her being in podcasting. Yes, I will
Yes.
shout you out for
Thank you.
that. And the girl is doing her thing in the school. The grades are grading, and she got like one more year, and she gonna be done. Okay.
Yes. Praise
I
God.
just
Thank you
wanted to
so
take a
much.
second to celebrate you on today. But we're gonna get into episode 5. Now, episode 5, Des and I, we decided, because we've gotten a lot of good feedback about the episode with Keys. And so we really kind of want to dive into that a little bit more. I think originally our idea with him was just to let him tell his story authentically, not influenced in any way by us. It's just let us know what your experience is like, and you know, the conditions that people may not really hear about, you know, on the news every day. But this episode, we want to dive into the things that he actually said.
Yes.
And then we'll look at historical parallels and patterns that we see based on his personal experience, because I think it's really, really interesting. And I didn't even make all the connections until after the episode aired. And so I think that's what we're going to get into today. All right. So I think one of the things that really stood out to me that I didn't know or it really processed until after the episode aired. Like the night the episode aired, I remember being in my kitchen, because that's where I'm at the end of the day, cleaning. And I was just thinking about what he was saying, you know, the transportation. You know, he's there with other people, they're shackled, wrists, you know, ankles to other people. And so I was in my kitchen and I was like, wrists and ankles. And I stood there. And it was like the ancestors were like, enslavement. Like I just was like, whoa. And it just was like, oh my God. And I didn't really even see that until I physically did it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, there's a parallel.
Yeah.
He talked about being shackled, wrists, ankles to another person. They're sitting for long periods of time. What did he say, 16 to 18 hours?
16 to 18 hours. They don't know where they're going.
They were left on that bus.
Mm-hmm.
No bathrooms. The people either turned up the heat to sweat them out or made it really, really cold and uncomfortable. And I was
They were malnourished, no food, no water.
the food was moldy, insects, that kind of thing. And I was just like, boy, if that doesn't mimic chattel slavery transportation, I really don't know what does. And I'm not equating those two things. They are not the same. But when people are like, this isn't who we are, we see these echoes that show something different. Because if we can recall, during the transatlantic slave trade, you have bodies shackled, arms, hands, feet, waist to one another in very close quarters, no climate control, obviously, squalor. They're left to piss and shit on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
The food, if you could even call it that, you know, is rotten, spoiled, just whatever. And I was just like, whoa.
Yeah, it was no regards for nutrition. It was just to keep you alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No regards.
And we have been here before. This is not a new thing. And one of the things that really just stood out to me is like, but immigration is a civil offense, but people are being treated as though they were criminals.
Yes.
Everyone, regardless of their criminal history.
Yeah.
And that part to me was jarring.
Yeah, very heartbreaking to hear. He mentioned that, of course, he has done crimes. He mentioned that. But he was in the cell with a gentleman who hadn't done crimes. Could you imagine the shock that man was in? the detriment that that put on his mental health to be in an environment like that and not having done any crimes with other people that Key's crimes were I'm not gonna say they were small, but they were not
There are
they
worse
were
crimes.
yeah, there were worse things that could have been done, and I'm sure some of those people were in there as well, mixed with people that have never seen the inside of a jail and would have probably never seen the inside of the jail had this not happened.
Absolutely. We got, like I said, a lot of great feedback. I know I had about 4 or 5 people reach out to me about this specific episode, and they came from 2 schools. They were almost polar opposite in their feedback. I think a majority was people were very interested and intrigued to hear his story.
Mhm.
He started off by letting us know that he had a criminal background. And I think some people that turned them off kind of right there
I
at the
got that
beginning.
feedback.
Because when you use a word like criminal, that's something that does dehumanize people. And
Mhm.
so people automatically think less of that person because of that title attached to them. So that was kind of one side. And I had somebody approach me like, okay, but he's a criminal. Shouldn't he have been deported anyway? And I'm like, well, he wasn't saying that he shouldn't have been. I mean, you may have missed that. I think
He
for all
didn't say
intents and
that.
purposes, he was like, I mean, by the law, based on my background,
He
you
said
know,
that.
what happened is what was supposed to happen to me.
Yeah.
But it wasn't even about that. It was about the lived experience. The can you imagine going to the store like you always do and then being snatched up and never getting to go home? You've got an apartment, you've got a car, maybe you have a dog, you've got a whole life that you never get to see again. Your parents don't know where you are. Anybody that knows, cares, loves about you, they don't know where you are. You're
Mhm.
literally just disappeared. And then you end up in this facility going through this process that is less than humane at multiple levels. And then your whole life that has just been uprooted, now you are trafficked across states and countries and dropped off somewhere where you may have never lived with whatever change you have in your pocket. And you're told to kick rocks.
And in his case, without even a travel document or identification to identify yourself there, he was no longer a citizen of Armenia. So
Mhm.
now he's having to figure that out.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
that's a lot.
That's a whole lot.
That is, I know, one of the things that I wanted people to be able to hear because I see on the news, I see the clips, I see the photographs, the videos of people being ripped from their families, but I
Mhm.
don't see anything after that. And so to have the opportunity to listen to Keys' story was something that gave me a little bit more than I would have gotten otherwise. And I think I needed to see and hear that perspective because people, again, the news cycles are going so quick that it's easy to be horrified in a second and then over it in the next second.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to be fair, he had more empathy for the man that was in his cell and he knew that man had done a crime than the empathy he had for his own situation. If you really listen to him speak, he really had a level of concern for that man who he was ripped from his family and he was completely Americanized all about this country and they took him from his people than he even had for his own situation. He literally said, like, okay, look, I know I did this. Okay. But this man was innocent. He was kind. He was a good person. There was no reason for this.
Absolutely. So I'm going to talk about the feedback that I got from the individual that was like, I mean, but he said he was a criminal. So a little bit of a backstory. So I met this gentleman. Hey, Joe, you're going to be on the show today. I met Joe on a Saturday because my back was really, really fucked up and I needed to go to a chiropractor. I was passing this location that I'd been to before and I was like, swerve, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to get this adjustment so I can feel better and I'm going to go on about my day. It was a Saturday. I had my twins with me, who are 4, and they were wearing their little tracksuits. We were all wearing the same kind of tracksuit. I had just taken them from their martial arts class, like we'd just gone there. So I walk in to get this adjustment. There's this doctor there. I don't know who he is. But I'm like, whatever, doesn't matter to me. Just fix my back. And the first thing this guy says to me, it's this Arab gentleman. He says, "Looks like you're raising a couple of little hoodlums."
Mm-mm.
And I
Mm-mm.
was like,
I know you lying.
I'm, and I look back at my kids who are sitting quietly in 2 chairs with their headphones and their tablets, and I'm like, "Oh, what?" I'm like, because maybe I'm tripping. What is it? And he said, "Oh, it looks like you're raising a couple little hoodlums." And I was
He
like,
repeated it.
yeah. I said, "Okay, cool, cool, cool." So, I ended up reporting that because I was like, "That's crazy as hell to say about a couple of 4-year-olds, and I don't even know you, sir. I have never seen you a day in my life." And so I reported it, but as you know, we'll report stuff like this and don't nothing happen. That I'm used to. So I called and I was like, look, this is what happened. This is the situation. I gave it to the attendant. The guy was like, okay, I'm going to call my boss and he's going to get back to you in about 24, 48 hours. And I was like, all right, bet, whatever. Not thinking I would ever hear from them again because that is kind of how it goes. And so in less than an hour, I have a missed call. And I was like, I don't listen to the voicemail and I hear, hey, this is Joe, and I own the chiropractic clinic that you were at earlier, and I want to talk to you about what happened. I'm like, damn, that was quick. And so I called him back and he wanted me to go over again what happened. And I was like, yeah, it was crazy. Like, I don't understand. Like, and he was like, the first thing that he said was, that is completely unacceptable.
Mhm.
Don't care what the kids may have done. There's nothing that warrants them being called that. Like, that's
No.
crazy. And for context, Joe is a 70-year-old white man.
Okay, Joe.
So we are not from the same life experience. And
Yeah.
so I was a little like, okay, Joe, all right. And he said, I've gotten a lot of, reports over the years. Some have merit, others don't. He was like, this is insane. And he said, what I'm going to do right now is, he was like, because I actually have the tape. I'm looking at this interaction and your kids just sat down. They didn't do anything. And even if they did, like, why would you do that? And
Mhm.
that doctor will no longer work for any of my clinics as of
Hmm.
today.
Thank you, Joe.
And I'm going to refund you the last couple of months of visits that you had. And I'm going to give you 20 free visits to use at your discretion for the remainder of your life. Whenever you want to go in, you just walk in, it's free. And I was like, okay, Joe. Look, I wasn't even expecting you to do anything. I just wanted you to know. That was it.
Yeah.
I just called to let you know. I said, because if he'll do it to me, he'll do it to anybody.
Right.
But what I liked about the interaction with Joe is that he saw an action, he listened to me, and then he acted immediately. I don't see that enough in corporate America. So I
No.
wasn't expecting it from the chiropractor's office that I go to sometimes, right? Because I've had situations, even with the job I work now, with racism.
Mm.
And all I got was a trust me, we'll deal with it from HR. And you already know. If that person is still working for the company and is, what did you even do?
Right.
Because I think whenever I see stuff like that, I think about, what if instead of saying that racially motivated thing that that person said, that they sexually harassed someone, that they touched someone inappropriately? How would
Right.
you treat that? So they would have to go if they groped me. But to, throw all these daggers and then pretend like it doesn't have an impact because you don't know what it feels like. That's what happens when we report racist things.
I'll
Typically,
tell you what, they can't work for Joe.
and so I was like, damn, Joe, I really respect you. That's cool. I mean,
Right.
again, I wasn't looking for money. I wasn't looking for anything. I just wanted to inform you about what happened at your establishment. That's it.
Mhm.
And so we started, a conversation and we started talking about everything going on in America, race and all of these different things. And he was like, I really want to talk about these things, but I don't have a lot of people to talk about it with. An older white man, he wants to talk and learn more and understand. And I was like, Joe, call me. You want to talk about it? We can talk about it. I don't mind. If you are coming from a place of wanting to know and not coming from no rage baby place, because I will cut that shit off immediately. But if you
Mhm.
really want to have a dialogue, let's talk. Because
Yeah.
I think that when people can start to see the humanity in other people and those bridges start to come together, it makes us stronger as a whole. And so
Mhm.
I was like, cool. So Joe called me personally. Hey, can I talk about this episode? It's like, I don't get it. He's supposed to be deported. And then I started sharing more about Keys's personal story. And because everybody don't know, we had to record that one twice, right? So there
Yes.
were things that he said in the first one that he didn't repeat the same way in the second one. And I think sometimes may have landed a little better in the first one.
Yes.
But I started to tell him about those things, the things that may not have been there the way that we would have wanted. And then he was like, well, I mean, hearing it from you, he actually kind of sounds like a good dude.
He
And I'm like,
is.
see? And that's the thing. Like, you have to look past sometimes the exterior to see what's
Mhm.
really going on in somebody, right?
Yeah, for sure. Something I wanna say that he said was that he didn't realize when he was younger doing crimes, the impact that it had on the people he was doing the crimes to.
The real
So
life.
he understands the real life impact of his actions, and he has gone through, and I know him personally, he's a friend of mine. He has gone through great lengths to just be a better person all in all. So, whereas people might have heard him say he did a crime and they just saw a criminal, I see a friend. I see a human. I see someone who is striving to do the best that they can, just like we all are.
And I think to your point, there are lots of people that have been arrested and incarcerated and given that title of criminal, and they were never that, right? Like, there
Yeah.
are so many people who have had those kinds of labels placed on them unjustly,
Yeah.
right? And, have done years in prison with that hanging over them, literally, only to find out that they were never
They
guilty.
never even did the crime.
Right.
They
But the
run.
dehumanization and the devaluing happen just the same, right? And I
Mhm.
think that's the thing. I do think that there are people that are redeemable, absolutely. And then I
Absolutely.
think there are other people like Donald Trump who will never be redeemed. Ain't
He eh
shit you can do.
mm-mm, I ain't gonna say it on
Nothing.
camera.
Nothing you can do. There are some people that can grow from their past mistakes, and there are others that they don't want to grow. They never wanted to. They are happy in their criminality.
So, realistically speaking, Donald Trump does not think he is doing crimes, because he's so far in his narcissism that he believes that what he is doing is just. That is the worst type of narcissist. That is the most dangerous type of narcissist. This man wholeheartedly feels like all the way from the Epstein thing. You think about it. Donald Trump is such a narcissist that he usually will defend himself. If you say something about him, everything is stupid, dumb, you're an idiot. He has not addressed these Epstein files.
And there
You haven't heard him say, "You're an idiot. I didn't do that. You're dumb. I didn't you're stupid and you're low IQ." Haven't heard him say that because he doesn't care. You know what I
no.
did now, whatever, and Imma eat some more kids. Whatever. What you gonna do about it? Nothing.
Not into more kids, child.
And
Hey,
he is. And he is. And he is. Every time a kid go missing and we cannot find them, the first place you need to look is the damn White House.
child.
Tell
Right.
me I'm wrong.
Shots. I ain't mad at you. Look, you are not wrong. I mean, the more we untangle about this web, the bigger it gets. And
Yeah.
it's insane. I never thought that this would be life, but here we are.
Yeah, and to be fair, when you look at the FBI criminal list and it breaks everybody down by ethnicity and what crimes are doing, it is not usually the people that are not born here. It's not usually the black people. It's not usually the brown people at all. School shootings, that ain't us. Mass shootings at theaters and restaurants and things of that nature, that is
By the
usually
numbers, it's white men.
us white men.
I mean, if you want to do the math,
It's not us.
the math
It's
is
not us.
the data is the data.
But we are painted as the worst criminals ever.
Well, that's layered, right? Obviously, that's born out of enslavement. In
Right.
order to justify the horrors that were inflicted upon Black bodies, you have to make them less than human.
True.
Because if they're less than human, like, why would you even really care what happens to them? So dehumanization is a very American tactic because when you other groups of people, make them not like you, distant from you, then you can't really see yourself in them. And
Mhm.
so when they're in pain, you're like, I mean, what that got to do with me?
Exactly.
There's no empathy. And that is the propaganda of America. And if y'all don't know that America is one of the biggest propaganda machines on the planet,
Hello.
y'all are finding out now because America loves to espouse, at least historically, we are living in different times, used to espouse that we are the land of the free, but they enslaved people. The home of the brave. We got a whole bunch of cowards. I mean, we are celebrating the losers, which is the
Mhm.
Confederacy. I don't know how that really worked. The land of freedom and justice in the constant face of injustice against marginalized communities. So there's
Mhm.
always been these contradictions, but it was branded and packaged so well that the world once thought of America as like Superman. We're going
Mhm.
to come in and we're going to rescue people. Hey, you got a problem with your democracy? There's a dictator over there. We're going to come handle that for you. But the reality
Yeah.
that people are really starting to wake up to now, but a bunch of us always knew, but some
Hello.
had the privilege of not seeing. America is Homelander.
Hello, baby.
Watch that Amazon show, The Boys, but Homelander is a fucking anti-hero.
You ain't lying.
Homelander looks good out front and don't give no fucks behind closed doors. And that is America. If America come knocking at your door to help you, please understand, America is about to rob your ass blind. And if you don't like it, we'll kill you too.
Hello. We literally are being ran by a dictator that is telling people you cannot be a dictator or I will take you out and take your oil with
The
me.
hypocrisy, right? I'm like,
Take
well,
your
wait a
oil
minute.
with me.
That fool got on international television and said that they took out the leader of Iran, who was a dictator and a da 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 da. Make no mistake, the leader of Iran was all of those things.
Absolutely.
But motherfucker, so are you.
No God.
So like, what are we doing?
God.
Hello, where is the president of Venezuela? Didn't
Baby,
you kidnap him a
he
few
under the
weeks
White
back?
House. And then got on the damn TV and said, our friends in Venezuela, baby, you done kidnapped they folks.
To steal the oil. I heard a lot at that time, people in Venezuela like celebrating. And again, oppression anywhere fucking sucks. But as an American and former military member, if we come to your house, we are not your friend. That is America. It is a colonial power.
You
It
just gave me
always has
chills.
been. It
You
always
literally
has.
just gave me chills. Like, cause you're so right. You know what I mean? You're so right. And and now that I'm old enough to understand war and what they're doing and how it works, we've never been there to help anybody. It's always been for
Resources.
personal gain every single time. And we are losing our own people. That fool got on the news and said, well, 3 people have died. There's probably gonna be some more. We gonna see what we could do not to make it some more, but there's probably gonna be some more. These people are grieving their families,
Do
and there
you
are
know?
others that are terrified because their families are over there, and you're like, it was 3. It's probably gonna be some more. Don't worry about it. We're gonna do what we gotta do.
'Cause
Crazy.
I'm gonna take this back to when George W. Bush was president, and we were doing the same bullshit in the Middle East. So I don't know if you remember. I'm old enough to remember there was a show on MTV called Celebrity Deathmatch.
I remember that,
It
but
was like a little claymation situation where you would
I
just
think
have
so.
animated celebrities like fight to the death.
Mhm.
Back in those days, I was like, well, why don't, instead of us going to war, we put our president against your president?
Mhm.
Y'all fight it the fuck out to the death. One person dies, problem is solved, everybody can move on.
Mhm.
Like, because if they knew that it was going to be them fighting, they'd be a lot less quick to fight.
Mhm.
If Trump had to get in the ring, he'd be like, well, wait a minute, let's talk about it. Now you want to negotiate? Now you want diplomacy when it's your life on the line. But when you
Girl.
use your military and especially the lowest enlisted as pawns in your political situation for financial gain, this is the kind of shit we see. We are in wars not because wars are good for us. We are in wars because it is good for warmongers,
Mhm.
aka billionaires who then begin to profit off of all of the industrialization that happens to
Mhm.
fund and to supply wars.
Mhm.
A war is a financial boom for those at the top. And we can also say it's a distraction from things domestically.
Mhm.
And that is
We're
where
not
we
gonna
are.
forget he ate them babies up, so it don't really matter. You could blow this whole thing down, baby. I'm not gonna forget you ate them babies. I be wanting to say allegedly, but we all read it. So I'm according to the files, you ate them babies.
In accordance with what is documented in the Epstein files.
Okay, so I'm not saying you did it, but all I'm saying is I'm not gonna forget that them Epsteins said that you did. And he could blow this whole thing down. I will be on my last breath like, y'all gonna get him for eating the babies?
I just look on that, and we do have a plan to talk about all this Epstein stuff. But I would say where there is smoke, there is fire,
Girl, burning. Hello,
and there is hella smoke.
baby, choking on it. We're choking on it.
So, to get back to Keys, one of the things that he talked about, and this is direct quote, human trafficking at its finest. And I was like,
Absolutely, he did.
because I didn't really register it in that way until he said it regarding how people who have been detained by ICE and the whole process to get them out of the United States is very much like that,
Hmm.
right? You are taking people against their will. It's government sanctioned. They don't really have any transparency on timeline, where they're going, when they're going to arrive, you know, any of that stuff. They don't have any communication with their loved ones and families, so they don't know what's going on. And they don't have any power or authority to stop themselves from being shuffled from California to Texas to then, back to a different place in Texas to then
Hmm.
fly to Florida to then fly to here and I was just like, wow, that is very much what human trafficking is.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Brought to you by America.
They're saying they're not telling you they didn't tell him because of safety, but there was not another damn safe condition about that whole situation. Where's the safety for the people you're moving around? You have them on buses with their own urine and feces, and then you're cutting on a heat at its highest capacity, and they're just having burning fumes from others' pee in their face all day for 18 hours. You are deliberately torturing these people
Hmm.
as you traffic them.
State sanctioned terror. Where have we seen that before?
Hello.
Could it be another historical reference? How many Klansmen were police officers?
Girl,
How many
all
were
of 'em.
judges? How many were walking around smiling in the faces of Black people every day and terrorizing them at night?
There are doctors too. That's why Black women die giving birth. I have had fertility issues for 15 years, and every white doctor has told me you're fine. I am losing babies in the first 6 weeks of pregnancy, and every white doctor has told me you're fine. Only to find out I have fibroids that are causing this issue, but are very dangerous because they cause anemia. You can't move if you ain't got blood going. They're your doctors too.
Sure. They were in every section of, everyday life. Black people, we knew who they were,
We knew.
right? And yet and still, they're supposed to be on the side of the law, truth, justice. Meanwhile, they're also the same people breaking the law, murdering people without consequence,
Yep.
right? And so it's like, we see these things repeatedly. And so when people say things like, trust Black women, listen to Black people, this is what we're talking about. Because I know I've seen even recently, content creators, especially white content creators, Black people, where are you? You guys need to get out here because you're next. And I'm like,
Baby,
baby,
we was first. Next.
but when have they stopped coming for us?
I'm
Like,
gonna
what
say
are
that
you talking about?
when were we not in the line of fire?
What? We told you.
But that's their thing. They just repeat what we say anyway. That's their thing. Black lives matter, white lives matter, all lives matter, blue lives matter, red
I ain't
lives
heard none
matter,
of that
green
recently. I haven't heard about any lives that matter at all
none.
recently.
No, all lives matters is silent, baby.
Church mouse, just
Baby.
quiet. Man, I think another thing that Key said that kind of like put me aback was he was saying that they could be detained indefinitely. Which what?
Okay, baby. That when he said that, I was like, Jesus Henry. Jesus has
I mean,
indefinitely.
because I think about the rights, right, and privileges that we're supposed to have as American citizens. And not knowing a whole lot about immigration myself, because that is not my family's background, I was like, but of course, you're going to have somebody to represent you. Like, you've got to have some legal somebody that can intercede on your behalf. And he's like, nah.
No.
I mean, if you don't have the money, there's no guarantee that you'll get that. If you don't know somebody that knows somebody, if you don't find a
Exactly.
card of a lawyer somewhere, you may not get any assistance as you navigate something that you've never been through before, right? And
Right.
I don't know, that was shocking to me because I felt like these if nobody else needs representation urgently, is people in this situation. But that was very unexpected. I really
Yeah.
thought that there would be resources because I
No.
do know somebody that's an immigration lawyer, and we're gonna have a combo with her.
Awesome.
And we're gonna get the legal side of the immigration and ICE detentions and all of the things that happen on that side. So stay tuned for that because that is coming up. But I thought that there would be someone for them,
Mhm.
and that's just not the case.
Something similar to a is it a public
Like a public
defender?
defender, yep, something.
Yeah. Something similar to that. I thought the same thing, but when he said no, we as American people don't have that's got the money to get an attorney when we have an issue. So the people that are coming here, you know that they don't have the money to get an attorney. You're banking on that.
Not just that, like, okay, so the money for an attorney is one thing, but when he said the phone call cost $50 to $70,
50 to $75, baby. I wouldn't have called the name for that's my mom for nothing.
like,
I would
how
have been there trying to
so
have somebody call my mom on three-way.
so what we see on top of the, trafficking of bodies,
Mhm.
see the exploitation of the same people that you're trafficking.
Exactly.
$50 for a phone call?
Which is why we keep seeing on the news people who don't know where their family is because they can't afford that phone call to call and say, "Hey, I'm here. I need help." By the time they get the money to make that phone call, they're already on their way wherever it is they're sending them. So
Mhm,
there is no time to get an attorney.
yeah. That's that's predatory, but that's
Mhm.
capitalism, right? And
Yes, it
that's why
is.
America loves it. Because somebody is profiting severely, and not just somebody, lots of somebodies
Mhm.
is profiting severely off the incarceration of these individuals.
Yeah.
And I mean, that falls back to what echo is that but the prison industrial complex?
Mhm.
It is literally the same thing and the same people.
Yeah, because 'cause they're privately owned. The detention centers are privately
For
owned.
profit. It's for
Yep.
profit. And the only way you profit is if it is to capacity, if it is filled to the brim with
Mhm.
people.
Yeah, that's when he mentioned that the people were cheering when he came in, and that broke my heart. Like, I'm literally this man's friend, and to have him paint a picture of him walking into a facility and people cheering because he's there, when we were at home frantic, I spoke to Keys' mom while he was in there, and just to hear the pain on her that was, her and I's first interaction, and just to hear the pain in her voice when she was talking to me about him being there, to know now that as you're walking in, people were cheering
Yeah, and they were cheering because it's job security for them.
for them.
Yeah.
And then how I mean, we already see a lot of ICE agents on the street that are Hispanic. You are putting your own people
God. Yeah.
into this mess. These are your people that
I don't
you
think
are
they see
putting.
them that way.
That
I don't think they see
disgusts
them
me
that way
though.
because that was one of the things that Keith said too. Because I was like, help me understand how somebody can support this man, like all of this stuff. And he was saying, remember that those that immigrated the quote unquote right way felt like because they could do it, other people should do it too. And they shouldn't get the same rights and
Yeah.
privileges because they didn't do it the right way. Okay, I understand your point, but my counterpoint would be this whole fucking land is stolen.
Every damn thing.
So doing it the
Everything.
right way, I mean, what you mean? Because when
Melania barely speaks English.
but when European immigrants came over here, they didn't do it the
We
right
don't know
way.
what Melania is saying when she gets on the mic. We do not know what Melania is saying when she gets on the mic, and I do not know what culture JD Vance's wife is, but that woman named Usha,
Again.
everybody came. So just leave us alone. This is
So
ridiculous.
I just feel like on a land that was stolen from a people that already lived here and occupied it,
Hello.
how in the world could you ever fix your face to say that someone else is not legal on the land stolen by your ancestors?
I'll take it a step further. We're talking about these people saying that they are Christian nationalists and they are connected to God. The Bible references people that immigrate that we're supposed to take them in as if this was their land. You're not even following the Bible you claim to follow.
You have to read it first.
You gotta open the book.
The words are there, but due to our amazing education system, we know that most of these motherfuckers can't read.
Can't read. Can't read.
I mean, we could get into the Christian national thing because I mean, I'm gonna hit you with the three things and then we can move on. Okay, so the reason why Christian nationalism is a whole fail because white Jesus is a fiction. Don't know who
Hello.
you're praying to. That is idol worship. Secondly, if you look into the book as it describes this man with hair of wool and feet of brass, that sound real Afro to me. Oh, look at that shirt. Uh huh. But you, as these white Christian nationalist, racist motherfuckers, don't like black people. Okay,
Mhm.
that's one. And then he was born in Palestine. Remember,
Hello.
Israel, Palestine. Y'all don't like them either. And then also, you don't like Jewish people. So it's like a trifecta. The God you serve is everything you
You
hate.
hate.
So you erased him and created somebody new. White Jesus is a fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's that. And there's that.
So who are you really worshiping? Is my question.
Yeah. They the
They
person
have
they made up.
with the Bible. Idol worship. Thou shalt
Caesar.
have no other gods before me. Who it is?
Well, who's the other ones?
Don't matter who's after. There's nobody before. The last thing I'll say about holding you indefinitely without having any convictions or anything like that. The other parallel that's there is Japanese internment camps.
Yes.
1942. We took our own people and locked them up in detention centers, very much like the ones that we are locking up people in now, and
Yeah.
held them without any opportunity for them to get out until essentially the war ended. We just gonna hold you,
Yeah.
violate all of your any rights that you might think you got, you don't.
Yeah.
And when this happens in a land that you may have been born in, they just look at you. They look at your skin. They look at your complexion. They look at your features and say, because you look like this, I can imprison you. Just
Mhm.
you go
Mhm.
like, but I'm American. I was born here. They're like, I don't give a fuck.
Mhm.
Because a lot of times when people say I'm American, anybody that is not European American has to have the qualifier, like the asterisk,
Yeah.
African American, you know,
Mhm.
Mexican American. It's got to be something
And I got
other than just American. But of our Euro friends, they're just American.
I'm just American.
That's it. They
Mhm.
don't need a qualifier. But now I'm looking for all qualifiers. American what? German American? Irish
Exactly.
American? Italian American? I need those
TV.
stats. Where did you come from? Where you from?
What's your origin?
Where your people from? No, not Milwaukee. Before. I mean,
If you're
get
from
everybody,
somewhere.
right?
You're from somewhere. And to be fair, Keys did and his family did go through the proper process.
They did, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Because he had
his
had his green card.
citizenship was removed
Right.
because of the crime that he did, which is still unfair to me personally because we have criminals that were born here that
Yeah.
get to stay here and continue to terrorize the hell out of us.
For sure. There's this one guy, I think the address is like fucking 1600 Pennsylvania. He's got like 34 felonies.
30 if I and counting, because as soon as they
And you
pop
know
over the
what?
rest of these Epsteins,
And counting. I think he's a German American.
girl, and he's
Ah,
doing
bitch.
war crimes as we
Germany, come
speak.
get your boy.
Please.
Come get him.
Listen, Germany come get him or Iran come get him. We don't really care at this point. Somebody come get this man. 34 felonies and he doing war crimes. You are already under the eye of everybody for the 34 felonies you have. And you said, since y'all ain't gonna do nothing, let me show you what else I can do that is a crime. So yeah, no. And he's the president. So you have to imagine how these people are thinking. You're messing with Keys because he did a crime when he was younger, and the president did all of these crimes prior to being the president, and you let him run the whole damn country.
Ain't that wild? That is wild.
And it's crazy because when we were electing him, when he was being elected, not we, because I voted right.
Bitch,
We
dummy.
not me, but when they was voting for this fool, I had a lot of friends that were felons themselves say, "Oh, why you voting for her? If he can be the president, I can too." Baby, no, you can't. No, you can't.
Okay, because unless thy name is white privilege and you are a man
And
with
it's just him.
extreme wealth,
It's just him. Because there's other white people that would not have gotten up there. It's just something they love about him. And it's also he either don't care or he don't know the Constitution. I'm thinking it's a little bit of both. That's of making him just do whatever he wants to do, and everybody's scared to put their foot down. That's all I could come up with.
It's honestly, it's mind-blowing. As a
It
former
is.
military person, this is, I mean, beyond. I know a lot of people, again, were like, "Oh, yeah," it's the destabilization that is being caused by this man everywhere. Everything that he is doing is going to have long-lasting ripple effects throughout the entire world. I don't care about the leader of Iran. I care that there was a school full of children
Blue girls.
who were unjustly executed in political theater. I care about the void that is now going to be left, the power vacuum in the Middle East as that entire region begins to destabilize. Those are the
Yeah.
things I care about.
And I agree. I definitely agree with you. And people seem to forget how we felt when 9/11 happened. Was in the 12th grade in California and still feel the impact of what that felt like for me in that moment. So imagine what it feels like dropping your kids off at school and they're not coming home because a president of another fucking country decided that he was going to bomb your child's school.
Not only that, but the negotiations just ended the day before. So this was a
Yeah.
surprise. We literally all woke up and was like, what the fuck?
What? No,
I'm sorry,
yesterday.
what? Maybe I wasn't reading that correctly. We
Yeah.
did what? I mean, did he tell Congress?
They
Does
didn't
he
ask.
ever?
No, he don't ever.
So, I mean, it's those kinds of things, right? And to your point about September 11th, so you were in high school, I was in college, and I actually remember that morning very specifically because I was on my way to work. And I remember I hadn't turned on the TV that morning, and I remember when I was riding my bike on campus to the gym, I didn't see not a single car or person the entire way. And I was like, is this an apocalypse? Like, where the fuck is everybody? I had no idea. And so I get to the building where the gym is, and I just see these crowds of people spilling over to outside. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? So I'm making my way through the crowd. What's going on? What's going on? And I see on the television the second plane hit the second tower. And I was like, shit. Now I'm like, okay, okay, okay. This is happening right now. And
Mhm.
my dad was an airborne ranger. So I called him. I was like, Pops, what the hell is it? Like, what is going on right now? Like, we're under attack. And I remember seeing a bunch of military recruiters outside at the university, and they was all on phones. And I was like,
Mhm.
okay, this is not good. Not good. For that exact same reason that this is not good.
Mhm.
Because in talking to my dad, we had conversations, and he was talking about Saddam Hussein and why he was kind of a necessary evil in that region. He was not a good person. Saddam was a shitbag, to be clear,
Mhm.
but he kept everyone else in line. And that
Mhm.
worked for America because at one point, Saddam was the homie with the US, as was Osama bin Laden.
Mhm. Hell yeah. People need to read.
So when the US came for him, even though we all knew that he had nothing to do with September 11th, and they found him hiding in that hole. And he was like, what y'all coming for me for? Right? He was really like, I don't even know because I ain't even do nothing. You didn't do anything this time. But the reality is that he was not guilty of what we said he was guilty for. That was a scapegoat, a means to an end. So we can get our foot in the door and exchange blood for oil, American interests. We wanted to secure the oil pipeline. That is why we went. And that is why we stayed far longer than we ever needed to be there. And I remember my father saying they should not have done that to Saddam, not because he's good, but because he keeps all of the other evil at bay. And it's better the enemy you know than the one you don't. How much worse was ISIS and ISIL, and for how much longer, right? So it's
Mhm.
like, it's those kinds of things. And I think that oftentimes when people that are more right leaning hear us say, what the fuck? Why would you kill the president? It's not about him.
No.
The impact that his death and the death of his leadership will have on the entire region and by extension, the globe.
The globe.
So, that's why I was like, oh, this is not, God, here we go again.
Mhm.
Pattern recognition. We've been here before, George Bush. We've been
Yeah.
here before.
History repeats itself, though. We know that for sure. But we just wish this history will put a damn pause. 'Cause this is successive.
Well, but
We're
I mean,
exhausted.
it's because there's no learning happening. There's
Mhm.
no lesson. And because the lesson is not learned, it will come again and again and again until we fucking get it. Until we get it. And The reality is there are not a lot of nations who have been either strong enough or strategic enough to really be able to tell America anything. And that, I think, has been the problem because if America, there's no lesson learned. They're like, well, we'll just do this to somebody else and somebody else and somebody else because of the abuse of power. And that's really what it is because it's, resources. We're going there for other people's stuff. That's why we do all the things that we do. That's what motivates, the way that this country moves. Anything else that you remember that Keys said that was just like, what?
No, I just wanna make sure that we emphasize he has learned. His actions have impact on the people that he is, doing that to. Because I also got a lot of feedback, "Oh, well, he did a crime, so that's why he's over there." And I also want people to really fully understand that you don't have to do a crime with the ICE detention centers for them to treat you unjustly. There are hardworking men in there, men that have never seen the inside of a jail, women that have never seen the inside of a jail. There are babies,
Baby.
children in there that are innocent, that can't even fend for themselves, so there's no reason for you to even have taken them in there, all in there in shared spaces with people that may have done worse crimes, I'm sure, than the ones that Keith spoke about that he did.
Hmm. Yeah.
So we have to separate that. We have to realize that these are humans that we're talking about.
Well, I think, again, that's a fundamental issue propaganda wise when you
Yeah.
other groups of people. Because
Yeah.
when you other a group of people, that gives maybe the dominant population or the majority population, they feel they have permission to treat them however they want. Right? Because let's remember, all of these slave owners went to church on Sunday.
Baby, hold on.
They thought in their twisted minds that they were good Christian people. And they treated enslaved people like how they would, slaughter a cow. What's the big deal? Who cares? I don't give a fuck. I get to eat. And they did. They ate us too, but that's a
Hey,
whole
that
conversation.
girl, please don't get me
So
started.
it's like when you dehumanize people, you don't feel bad when you mistreat them because you're not thinking of them as an actual person. And that is by design because then you can do that and be guiltless, right? Because they're not like you, they're different. And so that's okay if bad things happen to somebody that's not like you. But what America is now starting to see is that when they run out of those people, now they have you
Yeah, you're chill.
and you look like them. Because there's another parallel Epstein,
Mhm.
slavery. All of that is, and when I say that, let me expound because people be like, Epstein didn't. You are trafficking human bodies, okay, that are children. And do you think that slave owners were waiting until enslaved women or men were of age before they raped them?
Of course not. I mean, we know for a fact that they were not.
In fact, they said you gotta break them in early.
Mhm.
Children. Children. Powerful people doing whatever they want and no accountability. Seen this before. The difference is most of these victims that we know of are white.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but that is the preference at this point. So what we're seeing was just Tuesday during enslavement. No
Mhm.
accountability, no justice. They literally did whatever they wanted to these people. All of everything you see in Epstein and then some. 'Cause we
Mhm.
know it was worse than even that, and Epstein is bad.
Yeah, we just got a sprinkle of Epstein.
So, you know, for those, again, that watched the episode with Keys, there's so many layers to that story, and I hope that Des and I having this conversation has allowed you to see a lot of the things that he said and how they correlate to things that we've already seen here in America. Because none of this shit is new.
Ain't nothing new under the sun, baby.
That's what they say.
I ain't got nothing. I think they get the point. And as always, if you don't understand something, ask in the comments. We check them regularly. We'd be more than happy to answer you those questions for you. If you want to see something we spoke about, we'll be more than happy to add that into one of the episodes. Just ask in the comments, and we got you covered. We Our goal here is to make sure that we are all educated and we all understand.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are open to dialogue. But if you like rage bait, I'm blocking that because I really want to utilize what Des and I are working on to like have these conversations, allow people to see the humanity in other people. Because I think that's a big part of what's missing in America, empathy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Black people, we got that in spades because that's a real big part of who we are. We care, we see other people suffering, and it matters. But the more we can get other people to see that, I think the better we'll all be.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's where we at. Because, baby, let's tell the truth.
Let's sell it, baby.
Whole truth and nothing but. Until next time. Peace.
Thanks.